Today we are in San Francisco, California, visiting one of the most unique and amazing restaurants, not only in the Bay Area, but in the country. The Old Skool Cafe in San Francisco is a faith-based, youth-run supper club that provides employment opportunities and training in the restaurant industry to the city's at-risk youth. The vision is one of Theresa Goins, who is a former correctional officer who launched the cafe to be a part of the solution. Old Skool Cafe started as a pop-up event with 250 guests in 2006 and now owns the building in which the restaurant is housed in the Bayview Hunters Point neighborhood. Join us as we sit down and talk to the founder and some of the youth proteges at the Old Skool Cafe. So I'm having an opportunity to sit here with the founder, Theresa Goins, who actually came up with this concept, and you weren't even in food service at all. You actually were a correctional officer.
Correct.
So
correct.
just tell me, how did you go from that career to then this beautiful ministry that you have here?
Thank you. Well, as an officer, I did a lot of listening to the young people. It broke my heart to see all these young people that were full of promise and intelligent and funny and incredible hearts just sort of stuck in the system. And so I thought I feel strongly about listening to those that are in the situation to what they feel like they need to get out. So I said, what do you think it would take for you to actually break out of the gangs, this whole revolving door? And I heard jobs. I heard a sense of family, because the gangs offered community and family and brotherhood. People are there for you. And a sense of purpose, because if they were somebody in the street, like, we all want to have purpose and be somebody.
That's true.
And so I thought, well, what if we could offer those three things? What if we could compete with the streets, but in a positive way? What if we could offer employment? And what if we could create this sense of family and home and mentorship around that, and a purpose that they're running it, right? So I was always trying to create in my mind, okay, and I was praying, God, give me a vision for what it would take to offer something better than the streets are offering, because we're going to go with the best option, right? And so I'm in San Francisco at the time, and I'm thinking, where are the jobs in the city? Well, 30% are hospitality, right? Restaurants, we're a foodie city, right? Hotels, and I thought, oh my gosh, every city has restaurants. Even if it's a podunk cafe, right? So it's the one job you can go anywhere in the world, and if you have experience, you're going to be able to get a job.
How did you come up with Old Skool Cafe? I always wondered that. It's a beautiful place, but how did you connect with the young people and decide, I'm going to say it's going to be Old Skool Cafe?
So it was actually named by one of the young people. Old Skool, I like that. So I just added the cafe part at the end, and then named it after my mom, Cora Jeans. So it's Cora Jeans Old Skool Cafe.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that part. So you launched years ago, and now you're going to do a relaunch with a whole new concept. So just talk about that process, like the opening before and now the relaunch, and what that'll mean to the cafe and the city.
So we are reopening because in the beginning we didn't have enough money to actually complete the place. So we didn't have money for a bar, for an ADA handicap entrance, and several things that we wanted to be able to make it fully the spot that we needed, and just financially to have the bar there and a place that people can gather without a reservation. They can just come in after work for happy hour and gather. So that's what we're renovating for. We're also going to have more of a private dining, semi-private dining room for larger groups. So that's what we're going to be reopening, but we also now are going to have a bigger team. So I had to start very kind of scrap together. A lot of the furniture is from Craigslist. It was all volunteers that built it in the beginning. So we're just finally, after 6 years, able to sort of go to the next level.
Oh, great. So it's a refresh.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Oh,
with a bigger team, and we're going to have, we had to kind of do multiple jobs each person. Now we're going to have a coaching team, and we have 3 chefs versus 1, and it's just we're going to be able to kind of go bigger. Now we're opening 5 nights instead of 3 nights a week as well.
So now we can get that good fried chicken and all the what was the dessert? I love the dessert.
Lavender cheesecake.
Lavender cheesecake, and
or the sweet potato pie. That's my recipe.
Goodness, that is the best.
Thank you.
Also, so we'll talk about the training that happens here, because that's a big component, is the training. and the soft skills and actually the culinary trainings.
Right, right. So I don't know about you, but all the jobs I ever had, it was like, welcome and here you go.
On the job, right,
yes,
right.
like there
Figure
was
it
no
out,
like,
right.
here's like a month of, and so, and I just believe that like classroom training is really important, but we really in life learn so much more by doing. So that's sort of the concept of the program is the restaurant.
Right.
So we do probably about 4 hours a week of classroom training where, they're not in front of people, having to like be on stage. But so we do front of the house, back of the house. So their first 101 kind of boot camp old school training is they're going to learn the ins and outs of everything. So they're going to learn hosting, serving, dishwashing. All the families are happy that they learn dishwashing, prep cooking, and then they get just a surface experience. They kind of learn all of it. They get their food handler's permit, and then after they graduate that first kind of 101, then they can go deeper into a couple positions. So maybe they go, ooh, I really love cooking, or I really love being with people in front of the house and serving. So then they get to go to the next level and deeper mentorship and deeper learning. All along the way, they're doing life skills. So that's a big part, as we believe, if you lose your job because you don't show up, doesn't do you any good to have a job. And so a lot of like kind of job training, it needs to be paired with, they need real life job experience that you have to show up to keep your job, right? You got to show up sober. You have to be on time. You got to be respectful. You got to put that phone away. And so that's how we do it. And then they also have coaching along with those life skills. So every week they meet with a coach.
So how many employees do you have that work on staff and a part of the training and the whole team?
Yeah.
And how many of those are the at-risk youth?
Right. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have, so it fluctuates, right? Because we have youth that it's about a 2-year program. So we have youth that are coming in and youth that are exiting and going on to work at other restaurants and other businesses and to school. So 25 at a time is kind of our max. We serve about 40 a year. And the idea is that they get part-time. So it's part-time work because we want them to be in school. And so it's a nice mix. And so, yeah, about 25 at a time. And then we have, I think we're growing to 12 adult staff. So from the trainers in the back of the house, front of the house, coaches, my role, those that are helping media get the word out.
Now you've actually not only, some people don't know in San Francisco, so it'll be good to have the relaunch so they'll learn about the Old School Cafe. But it's amazing that they don't know because you've received national and international attention because of the CNN heroes that you were acknowledged as the CNN heroes. What was that moment like for you having this vision and then actually getting acknowledged by CNN? I mean, it's a huge award and recognition.
Thank you. Well, I think when it finally all came to fruition and just walking into the restaurant and the youth are running it, they're setting up, and it's not dependent on me. They're really doing it. They are running the show. Like, that never gets old to me. So when CNN and some others came and they said, wow, we value this model. We want to see this in other cities. It was just super encouraging, right? Because when you're grassroots and you're like trying to get your name out there, please come support our youth, come and eat here. And then when all of a sudden it kind of starts to catch on and blow up and people are telling your story, it's the best.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy life to get this done.
Such an honor.
We look forward to coming back to the relaunch and having a wonderful meal too. We have an opportunity to talk to the people that really make the Old School a success, and that's the youth. One of the youth that have been a part of the program since she was 15, is that correct?
Yes, that is.
She's a mom and in her 20s and a part of the leadership group. So we want to talk more about what that experience was for you becoming when you first joined, and then just seeing the evolution of the cafe and what that means to the community and what that meant to you as a youth to participate.
Well, when I first joined, one of my first interviews was actually in Theresa's house with the chef there, and we were cooking and getting to taste the food. And I was kind of in shock, like, okay, I'm in the house and it's my job and this is my interview. And I was like, this is the easiest interview ever. I can cook, I can eat. Do I get the job? Right. So after joining Old School, we did a lot of pop-ups in Theresa's house, a lot of events outside of her house. And I was like, this is good. I can do this. And I like the vision. We're helping youth. And it was just such a small group and very little pay. It depended on what catering gigs we would have and how much, divided by the youth that we have, how much we would get paid and the amount of time we would get paid. But I stuck with it because I really love the vision of it. And then to see how far it's come it's just a blessing. It's like, wow, everything we had visioned, everything we had planned is starting to get pieced together.
So what brought you to the Old School Cafe? How did you meet Theresa and how did you get involved? Because you were pretty young at 15.
Yes.
Are you from San Francisco too?
Yes, born and raised.
Okay, so how did you become a part of Theresa's world? As you guys call her Mama, Theresa's world.
I was actually going to the care program in the YMCA here in the Bayview. So I ended up dropping out of high school at 14, 2 weeks in. I ended up being jumped by gang members, and my grandma was really feared for our lives, so she moved us out. And the only school that would accept me coming back to San Francisco was the care program for dropout prevention for youth. And I remember being having just a little attitude at the time, being 15 and holding a grudge and anger of why did this happen to me and acting it out in school and in life. So I was sitting outside of my classroom office, waiting to have my meeting with the principal for detention or whatever. And I seen Theresa come in and meet with him. And a couple days later, she came back, and I was like, oh, I got to be on my best behavior because she knows the principal. Like this lady knows the principal, so I can't act out. And she gave a presentation about Old School, and that's how I met her and learned about Old School and just was like, this is for me.
Wonderful. You're one of the success stories. I mean, that's a success story in itself that her vision resonated with you, and now, a decade later, you are one of the leaders in the program. So, what's your roles and responsibilities now that you're part of the leadership?
Now, part of the leadership, I am the office coordinator. So I manage everything in the office, depositing checks. Handling all the phone calls, scheduling interviews for the youth, trying to get youth in, doing presentations at school, going to different meetings. So that's basically, I do everything to try to help the restaurant run.
Do you connect with some of the youth? Do you see like maybe a young Desiree that comes through the program that you can connect with and help them actually, find their voice and find their skills to change their life around?
I feel like I do connect with them. I find time to get to know the youth and speak to them, even if it's just for 10 minutes. And I let them know through my experience. I've been where you're at right now. I know some of the struggles that happen while in Old School, and it's hard to leave some of your outside life outside the door. So I try to sit there and just talk to them, letting them know this is what happened with me, and maybe in some of my story, you guys can find your story and then help build and stay within Old School.
So how do you think this has changed your life?
Oh, it changed my life dramatically, actually, drastically. Before Old School, I didn't have self-respect. I didn't have love for myself. I didn't pretty much respect anybody. And with Theresa's help and all the adult staff that came in, I learned to really love myself, and respect others. And then I grew a love for God. And once I started connecting with God, then my life was just changing, and I can't imagine a better path that I could have had.
Congratulations. Thank you for sharing your story with us too.
No
and
problem.
We'll be back for our Old School Cafe relaunch and to have a meal with you all
Great.
too.
We're looking forward to having everybody.
Thank you. We are back at the Old School Cafe for their relaunch and to taste some of their delicious cuisine. This time on Spotlight with Shonda Scott, we'll actually sit down with a few of my friends that I've invited to enjoy the experience at Old School Cafe in San Francisco.
chicken tenders.
Chicken tenders?
That's a good story.
My auntie brought me here one day.
Okay.
I love the chicken tenders.
Okay.
And basically, I asked Mother Theresa if I could work here for her food. But I was on like 7 at the time, so she said no.
She said no.
So,
Yeah. So I just...
years later, Darius, first of all, came about a year ago and interviewed and made it all the way through application and interview. And that when I sat down, we started talking, I said, how old are you? He goes, I'm 15. So he had fudged it a little to try and get in.
So you had to get a
early.
work permit, right?
So he ended up, we told him he was too young that round, but to come back, and he was right in it next time. And he's getting ready in the next week or so to graduate.
Yeah.
And,
Hopefully I'll see y'all more and more.
Yeah.
so from this so we do the first 12 weeks is a kind of an introduction. It's intro to old school. So they learn hosting. What else have you learned?
Hosting, waitering, how to greet the table, how to bust the table, get it ready for new people.
How about back?
Back, we learn dishwashing, cutting, utensils, where everything goes and where everything's placed. Yes.
And then they do a lot of life skills. So then after that 12 weeks, which will be next week, he's going to graduate and then can be a full employee.
It's a little rundown. We serve international soul food, which is comfort food from around the world. We get most of our recipes from youth. For example, if you look at the openers, you'll see the ota on the top right. That was from one of our previous youths, and then if you look at the classics, we have the Abu's peanut butter stew. So just dishes like that. We like to get our food from the youth, and we hire youth from the neighborhood just to help them learn like life skills and like how to be successful in the restaurant business. When I first started here, I was mainly on the dish pit, and then I wanted to try and be like a line cook, but there was already like 3-4 people.
There was a line.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? Let's just try and be a server, because like I get to greet customers, I get to see their reactions to the food, and I get to hopefully show them a good time.
My name is Isis. Nice to meet you all. I came out of school by looking for jobs online, and I realized their story and like how they really help youth out here, and I wanted to be a part of it, so I decided I went out and applied. And when I did, I felt really welcomed, and they really do help with any problems at home, or if you like feel trouble, they really are a support system that they know.
Okay, this is founder and our host, Theresa. Yes.
I was a correction officer right out of college, and so it was working with mostly young men, 13 to 18, that were incarcerated predominantly due to gang violence and drug dealing and offenses. And so they're really the ones that inspired me to start this. So was doing a lot of listening and hearing them say what they needed to actually break out of that life. Because often we have ideas of what we think they need, but they're the ones that really know. And so they said jobs, but nobody will hire us because we have a felony. So they said jobs, and then they also said the gangs offered such a sense of family, to have all of these brothers that have your back. That's so powerful. And who doesn't want that sense of like protection and family and brotherhood, and so it was that sense of family and community, and the other was purpose. They had respect. They were somebody if they carried that name. And so I thought, well, if we could create a sense of purpose, family, and employment, and address the economics as well as the internal need to belong and be loved, I think if we could be competitive with the streets, I think when people have a better better choice, they will most of the time make a better choice. So they're the ones that inspired a youth-run supper club where the youth can be employed in everything. So from hosts to servers to chefs, dishwashers, that's not their favorite. No, we teach them the marketing, the business, the fundraising, because we're a full nonprofit. So there's all these jobs that are an opportunity to learn by doing, not just classroom, but actually the training, and then they move into employment. So that's really the heartbeat behind it, and they're doing it. And so that's exciting to see in the middle of where we're at here in the Baby Hunter Point. It's the youth that are making the change.
I used to be the presiding judge of the juvenile court.
Oh, wonderful.
And so I've toured a number of our camps and the youth authority facilities. I mean, I've gone as far as Rialto, California, all the way up to Sacramento. And this is the concept that we tried to get everyone to embrace when I was there at juvenile. We had an Iron Chef competition, and our kids at the camp won. And it was a competition with the community. And from that, kids were able to get jobs. And so I knew about Old Skool Cafe when you guys first opened. And we brought a group of people here. And so now to come back when you have these renovations is pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
Thanks
you
for sharing
you're
that.
doing some wonderful work. Because all of our kids, they want to be employed, they want to have a sense of family, and they want to have consistent adults in their life.